It then goes into the third eye. That's when you, the soul, merges with your mother, father, God, the spirit. You become one, and that's when you fly. And that's why when you look at Nile Valley civilization, the soul was always represented as a bird with wings. Yeah. Because once you merge with your father, you or mother, you will be able to fly. That's the whole purpose of life, to reach God consciousness. And you can't do it reading a book. And beliefs don't have nothing to do with it. Whether you believe Jesus had a mother or father is irrelevant. Whether you believe Muhammad was a prophet of God is ultimately irrelevant, because that's just a religious story. Stories don't improve spirituality.
Come on.
Spiritual work improves spirituality.
Come on.
I always say that God has to die in order for black people to achieve divinity. I'm not saying God, I'm saying the God concept that we've been raised on.
Come on.
It's outdated and played out, and it's not going to serve us into the next age. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
We need a greater God concept in that. And the reason why we deal with the divinities is because we recognize that God is so great that you cannot possibly interpret and comprehend the entire kingdom of the Most High. So we deal with aspects of it as a way of approaching it. So we'll deal with Ogun, Ifa, Osset, Heru as an aspect of the one, because I can't possibly embrace the totality. See, in African spirituality, God created the world, withdrew, and released his aspects. So if you want to communicate with the all, you got to deal with his aspects. Same thing with your ancestors. You come from God to the world through your ancestral umbilical cord. If you want to get back to God, you got to go back up the ancestral umbilical cord. In other words, you cannot form a relationship with God if you ain't got one with your ancestors. It's impossible to do. And that's why a lot of us never reach spiritual height, because we're skipping generations. We're skipping great-grandma. We're skipping great-great-great-grandpa. You got to go up that chain to get back. And some of them died with such a high spirituality that if you tap into them, you can piggyback ride them up to God. We got to get deep again, y'all. We got to get deep again, and we don't need titles and labels to do it. Yes, sir.
My thing is, why do we always, like when we talk about wicked people, we always call them snakes? I think, should we stop doing that? Because now I'm realizing snakes is like a divine, you know.
Exactly.
Well, snakes have always been recognized as a divine. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah. Why do we, like I said, when we're talking about wicked people, why do we always call them snakes? Right?
Because of the mythology of the Bible that has been impressed upon all of us, as the snake being evil, an agent of the devil who forced Eve to bite from the tree, so the woman was the cause of the fall of man, which is also a sexist notion. You follow what I'm saying? That's where that comes from. But for me, snakes are divine. I have one, a green tree python, green and gold. Love my snake to death. So snakes are very divine. In fact, in some spiritual traditions, when you get initiated, in order for you to cross over, you have to sleep with a snake in your bed. Because some traditions teach that the snakes are able to sniff out an unrighteous soul. So in order for you to cross over, you got to sleep with that snake. And if the snake don't bite you, you pass. And if it do, you ain't ready yet. Yeah, good idea. Good brother.
My question to you is, how do you said earlier about the Moors, you were talking about the Moors.
Yes.
And that they were the free man of the nation. You know, we still have, we are all Moors, technically speaking.
I'm an African.
You're okay. My thing is...
But I respect my Moorish brothers, though. I got a lot of good Moorish brothers and sisters.
Yeah, what was I saying? Okay, so you say we're missing a link right here. We're missing a link in the middle, correct? Is that what you're saying? Like you said that we can't go all the way back to ancient. We can go back to ancient Kemet, but we're missing a link. It's something we're missing. We can tap into that spiritual energy. We can become one with the Creator. You know what I'm saying? Because each one of us is a creator, right?
Right.
And we're all, how can I say, we all manifest the heaven here. Okay? And so what the Moors are doing, we're putting in the spirituality back, bringing the nationality back, so that we won't be stuck in that, how can I say, in the colorable law.
Okay.
We know that black is our true essence. You know, we know that we're divinity. At the same time, these Europeans have put down things on pieces of paper, birth certificate, and stuff to get us trapped into the system. So what I'm thinking is, the key is, we're missing that nation's flag. Yes, we know Moors, we can't even put our people on we gotta put our people on a pedestal, because the thing is, we can't even limit ourselves to Africa. Because we moved into Asia into Africa and name that as one of
No,
our names.
that's not true.
Oh, you don't? Okay,
There's no relic of any human being, and I challenge you on any more. Not with theory,
Okay.
but artifacts.
Right.
Because anybody can talk theory. Show me the remains of a human being in Africa older than the one, in Asia, older than the ones in Africa, or here, or anywhere else on earth. When you go to the artifacts, you cannot prove it. Only in theory. There is no human artifact in Asia older than the ones in Africa. That belief that we started in Asia is simply not true. Prove it with the artifacts,
Okay.
not with theory.
I'm gonna do my research on it. However, I do want to say that I do believe that with this law, though, with this colorable law, just talking about in this time and history.
Yeah, I think you can use the science. No, I'm not going to throw out the science because there's certain things where I believe that whether you're an Africanist like me or more, we can link up on. Particularly the international law and how to apply it to our people as a nation. Do you follow what I'm saying? So I'm not throwing it out at all. I'm simply saying that you don't have to call yourself a Moor in order to tap into that science or use it. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not throwing it out. I'm just saying I don't have to identify with that in order to tap into that science. And I don't want us to confuse tactics with gold. And what I mean by that is I can give up my social security card. I can give up my birth certificate. I can give up my driver's license. But does that mean I'm free?
No.
See,
No.
I think sometimes okay, because you ain't got these pieces of paper, you're more freer than the next black man.
No.
White supremacy don't put us in groups. You follow what I'm saying? Just because you go into the courtroom with a fez on your head don't mean you're going to come out victorious. And again, I'm not belittling because there's a lot of good to the Moorish system. I would never throw it out. Some of my closest homies are Moors. I want to be clear on it. My elders are Moors, some of them in Philadelphia. So I would never throw it out. I'm just saying I don't have to identify under that flag or banner to tap into that same science and use it for my benefit, if that makes sense to you. In other words, we can stand side by side, fight for the same thing, and I still don't have to identify as a Moor. For example, there's white people in America, sovereign citizens movement. They ain't got birth certificates. They ain't got driver's licenses. And they don't call themselves Moors because you don't have to be a Moor to tap into those types of things. Is all I'm saying. You follow me there?
You just have to be a
See,
citizen.
but I'm not at odds with you though. I want to be clear on that. No, I see where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from.
Little Emancipation Proclamation. Because, you know, if you read up on the Emancipation Proclamation, you know, that's just a speech made by elected officials.
True.
So, if that's the case, wouldn't that mean we still enslaved?
Yes.
You're enslaved whether you call yourself a Moor or
Or
not.
not.
Because we have no organized power. The world is run on power, not law. When America went into Libya and killed Gaddafi, there was no legal mandate. They did it because who was going to stop them? See, the world is run like a gangster show. Whoever got the mic does what they want. They don't stop and say, let's look at the laws to see if we can go. They just go and do it. When you have power, you don't have to obey the laws. You follow what I'm saying? So I want us to get to the level of power. Because once you get there, then most of the laws that we're constricted by don't even mean anything. Good sister.
Real quick, what can the citizens do to prevent pedophilia from coming out of this DSM-5?
We can't stop it because in a pure majority there's more white folk than us. What we have to do is control the education and socialization of the babies so that they won't even want to be bothered with that way of life. Take them from here and bring them up, and that's how you overcome that.
You got a question, brother? Yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
Let me go here, and then my brother right next to him. Yes, sir.
Brother here touched on it. Religion.
Yes.
Or let's practice religion. You said that we're going to practice religion, keep it in the Africans. What do you mean by that?
I mean that you have to Africanize it, and what I mean by that is you need to add as much of African culture and spirituality to your religion as possible. There's not a simple answer to that because there's various African spiritual traditions you simply have to integrate. Let me give you an example. When I'm in Senegal, my Pan-African brothers in Senegal are Muslim, but their Islam does not look like the Islam here. It's totally Africanized. They do libation, and they do all sorts of African rituals that if an average Muslim here who's a Negro saw them do it, they would say that there was kufar and not following Islam. Do you follow what I'm saying? So when I say Africanize it, I'm saying you simply blend them. Even in Christian African countries. I know Christians in Africa who have Africanized their Christianity where they do not throw away grandmother's religion. They simply practice them both at the same time. You follow what I'm saying? Yes.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure.
Thank you, my brother.
Yeah, so I was watching a show on National Geographic, and I just want to throw this out there. But I don't know if you ever heard of Dr. Spencer Wells.
Give me the name again.
Dr. Spencer Wells.
Sound familiar.
And I think he went around the world, and also in New York, where it's all different races, white, black, Hispanic, whatever. Different nationalities, different languages. But anyway, he did these DNA tests of I think 500,000 people. All of them came back, and it all leads to one woman.
True.
So when I